If you're a parent trying to juggle work, training, and still being present at home, you've probably felt like something's slipping. But it's not about always doing everything. It's about doing what matters most and being purposeful in your actions. Today on the pod, we're talking about the strategies that we use as busy dads trying to still take care of our health, grow our business, and not let it all slip. Nath, welcome back to the pod.
Mate, I'm very, very happy slash pumped to talk about this. I feel like the last few episodes we've got to share together are very cool, very passionate things, very top of mind. And obviously we are fortunate enough to live it every day. And so I'm so excited to share some things that have helped me because the juggle is not easy at times, but I would say I'm quote unquote the busiest, but actually feel the best at the moment. So I'd like to share with the listeners some strategies around that. And yeah, help them apply it to their life and feel like they're back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, 100%. We'll dive into this pretty quickly. We want to keep this on quick, tactical, and punchy. But essentially, we're talking about like everyone thinks that balance is, I guess, equal time spent on everything. But in reality, that's never going to be the truth.
No.
It's about being intentional with where you are right now and knowing that it is going to change and shift in seasons of your life there. But there is some cornerstone pieces that we do use that helps us balance that out, whatever that is there. And that's the stuff that we're going to get into today. So obviously, I'll let you just jump in quickly. We know that you train at F off o'clock in the morning to make it work. What are some of the other things that you've had to make as a change to then help balance the juggle and still look after yourself as a person, but also looking after yourself as all of the other roles that you have in your life?
It's a very good question, Jake. The training, like being scheduled and not squeezed, like we spoke about at 4 o'clock in the morning. Doing that and having it scheduled at a time where I can work on myself. And I think that's probably a really big key point that we'll touch on today. And I know we're going to keep it short, sharp, and tactical, but essentially you need to be careful of what you're doing for yourself and the version of yourself that you're bringing to all those other things. And that's why my training is scheduled and not squeezed, because it's something that develops, regulates me, and keeps me at my best. So when I do show up to the juggle, I can show up at a version of myself that's the best I can, where I'm not negotiating on those things. And in the juggle, it was hard to get it done properly outside of those times. So for me, it was just that choice to do it then. And it's been, I think, almost 5 years of doing it.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That's crazy, hey?
it's mental, man. I had a memory pop up. Yeah, long time.
Yeah, nice. And I think like the key thing that we just talked about there is like the person that you want to be, what you want there, and that's our first step. Is you've got to be clear on what the vision looks like.
Yeah,
you've got to be clear on what the life that you want to have for yourself, for your family, in your career. What are those things that you want to be moving towards? And I think that's one of the things that we often miss. Like we probably have little pipe dream ideas of what those goals are. It's like I want to be. Like, I want to have more money, or we want to take holidays. But it's not clear.
It's not tangible.
And if you don't have it clear and tangible, then it's going to be really hard to identify what are the steps that are going to make that happen and move you closer to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we got from our business coaches, shout out to Dozer and the Geronimo Academy, is the Vision Achievement Roadmap. And this is something that we'll dive in as a standalone episode, probably on the YouTube channel, as to how you guys can use this here. But the piece that was really valuable for us, particularly with these guys work with us on the business, but it wasn't just here's what your business vision is like.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, all right, cool. We're going to actually map out how all of these pieces happen, because you in one role affects you in all the other roles too. So if you're not getting an idea of what the whole big picture looks like, it's really, really hard to move forward. So what were some of the things when you did this the first time, Nathan, that popped up for you that you maybe didn't realize?
I think the biggest thing, Jake, was not having a long enough vision or outcome, where I was so zoomed in that I've forgotten about that. And I owe it to Soph and Dozer with that. It actually gave me a bit of permission to dream, to be like, what does it look like and why is that important to me? And then it actually created steps that were tangible that I could reverse engineer and be like, okay, cool. I can do these things. And that's allowed me to develop myself personally and have just a clear picture of who I need to show up as. And if I wasn't meeting that, then I could use what we spoke about last episode, like the push, pull, or pivot, to make sure I can continually move towards that, because it gave, like we speak about, it gave the processes towards those things a lot of purpose. And then that allowed me to actually set some things in place that could build and compound and get me to where I want to go and maintain that.
And I think another thing that we stole from the guys there is like, you have to give up the life that you have to get the life that you want.
Yeah.
I think the guy's saying it in a lot better way to do so, but it's essentially the same premise there. And it's like, what are the things that you're hanging on to right now that are actually holding you back from where you want to go to? And then how can we build your way through into the next steps on that there? And once you've got some clarity on what that is, then for us, then it's like, what are some containers that you can put into your daily, your weekly routines? And what are some rules to live by essentially that are going to help you actually make the changes that you want to make and move towards that there. And one of the ones that we've implemented this year, haven't missed once, has been Separation Sunday.
Yeah, massive.
The format, again, shout out Dozer for helping us out on this. And probably the reason why we've got so much passion for this stuff right now is because of how much of an impact it's had for us this year. It's been our biggest year ever of Newstrength, but also alongside that, I feel like it's probably really refining where we want to go as people and how do we get to that there with our families. And these pieces have been a really valuable cornerstone to give us the structure to allow that. And jumping over to another name that I really like in this space is like Jocko Willink. He talks about like the discipline equals freedom, and it's like creating the structures that give you the freedom outside of that.
Absolutely.
So Separation Sunday, essentially what that looks like for us is we always have a piece of movement there. That's our own little addition to it. So how do we have our daily movement attached to it there? And then winning the week starts on Sunday. You got to plan to win the week. And for us, what that comes down to is there's three key factors there. We're like reviewing what the week has looked like, what are our focuses for the next week, and then scheduling in the pieces that matter. What have been some of the things that you attributed that you've actually done as a win off the back of implementing the Separation Sunday?
Easy one. Like Sarah and I have actually had a date together each month because I put that on like the achievement roadmap to have it as a non-negotiable. Except what reminds me of that is every Sunday I sit down, then it goes into that relationships column. And it's like I need to schedule my one-to-one time with Sarah, with Macy, with Len, and it actually goes into the calendar. And it isn't one of those things. I think one of the biggest, how powerful it is as a tool, simple but so powerful, is you get to the point where you have to schedule what you've been saying, oh, I've been meaning to do that, or I really need to do that. You actually sit down, you can put it into the calendar, and you can see, and I think for you and I both, we don't like losing. So if I put something down that week and I don't hit it, like I hate it. I genuinely hate it. And I want to pivot. And like, you know, I run the level 10s in the meetings with the team, and if it doesn't hit an 8 out of 10 standard, like, that's not good enough. So I come back and I try and make sure that it's better. So I think it's one, having standards, but two, just reminding you what's important across all aspects. Like you mentioned, Jake, it's not just business on that Sunday prep. It's how do I fit all of these aspects in my life, like we're talking about today, and where is my focus and what does winning look like this week? Sometimes it's a big family week and we go away, or you've gone to Bali and that's the focus and that's what we're going to fully lean into. And other times we need to facilitate this growth in this certain aspect for this to happen. It might be the business, it might be sitting down with the accountant to make sure that we can have better strategies moving forward on X, Y, and Z. But you know what the focus is and you have the purpose and the meaning behind it. And that's it's been massive.
And I do really value in the strategy there is like, and we won't go too much into the details of it there, but it's got career, it's got your own personal pieces for yourself, it's got relationships, and then it's got wealth as well. Most of my wealth ones are pretty basic and just try to save money this week, Jacob. Probably shouldn't be try, it should just be do it.
Yeah, no, great.
So I think that sets the tone for the week. Like we say winning starts on Sunday. We then, because of that there, we schedule in what's important there. And that's, like you mentioned earlier on, scheduled, not squeezed is the piece that matters here. It's not about where can I squeeze this thing in. It's like, where can I put this into where I've got the most energy to do it, where I've got less interruption, and then how do I actually, like, when I do schedule that, like, what do you structure that into being? Like, I know, and I've joked around to a lot of people with this, and I've made a change of one of my days that's off the floor. I don't go into the gym until we have our team meeting. So I go and we normally will train first thing in the morning, get movement out of the way. So that's scheduled in. I want to get my training in because I don't want to be looking at it later on in the day and trying to squeeze it in before the kids get picked up from school. Then I go from there and I go and work off-site somewhere. We go and work at a cafe somewhere. I try to find somewhere quiet. And I joke around as like, I need to be not distracted. The reality is I need to not be the distraction. Because if there's other people in the office, I will be the distraction. I'll poke my head in, jump into other people's projects, and then I'm sit back and I'm like, man, I didn't get my own stuff done today because I was helping everyone else. It wasn't that they asked. It was just that
You're a
love it.
giver, Jacob.
I
You're a
love every
giver.
piece of what we do, that I want to just jump into those conversations and help out with that. And then by creating the environment, scheduling it in, going, I'm not going to be in the office today for this, means that I can actually do it uninterrupted. I can make sure those things happen there. And essentially, like, once it's scheduled, it's easier for you to follow through and get it done. And there's going to be occasions where stuff happens. Like we had today, poor Hamish, Claire was meant to jump on the pod earlier on, and he unfortunately fell over at daycare and popped a tooth out. And
He's
then,
still all teeth in the photo but one.
he was
Tough fella, still
yeah,
smiling about
he
it
was
all.
still smiling. Shout out to Hamish, good little fella. But then things are going to pop up and going to change. But more often than not, if you can schedule things in, you're going to win more weeks than you don't. If you win more weeks than you don't, you're going to be moving towards that vision that you've set for yourself there.
Yeah. And I think another thing to touch on with that, Jake, you have to treat the weeks with respect that you write down. Like it can't be diluted with like, oh well, next week. Which I think that's a really big thing. I think it's just something
It's
that
got
you
a
and
sting. Like
it has to. Like there's obviously being flexible, but most of the time, most people don't need that much flexibility. They need to do the thing that creates the outcome that they actually want and will fulfill them. So I think another important thing, like if you are going to start planning your week on a Sunday, use it as data and information. If you're not winning weeks and it's pissing you off, then maybe you need to have a better strategy or look at things a little bit more.
And then you can go back to the last episode, push, pull, pivot. Like that's where you can go through and go, why is this not actually happening here?
100%.
Do I need to pivot how I'm doing it?
And the data still is useful.
Yeah.
Like if you don't win the week, like that's, to be honest, it's probably more useful because you can address it and then dissect it and go, what's off here? Like, did I miss my one-on-one time with the kids because I tried to do this thing? And it should be the point where it's like, I might catch it next week. It's like, no, I have to come back. I have to look at my week and do better. But that's what's, I think for you
that's why I left the office for that day there, because it wasn't happening. And I was like, I've got time here. Why is it not happening?
Yeah. And being reminded every single Sunday is powerful. So, yeah, I'm
gonna add one last piece. Like, you're not going to win every week. Our golden rule is you don't miss twice. No matter what you do, if you miss that first one, you make sure as hell you get on that second one. You figure out whether you need to push something, whether you need to pull back on something else, or whether you need to pivot completely on that. You make sure that you don't miss twice, because we don't want the momentum going against you. You want the momentum with you at all times.
Yeah, and it's absolutely mental. Like, I can't speak on something that's so simplistic on how much of an impact and momentum it can make. Like, you can flick through, like we've got it in a booklet, where then you can flick through it and literally watch things change over the course of the year in a really positive way. And like Jacob said, it's not that all the weeks we won, but all the weeks were utilized, I think is a good way to say it. Like every bit of information we used, if we had to pivot, would discuss those things and would never stop. Like sometimes Jacobs would be away or I'd be away and would still hit it, and then would message each other through whatever platform it was at that time. We normally have 6 running at once.
Six running at once, and then there's multiple in the same one at the same time.
There is, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But if, the planning with the juggle and what we spoke about, it's that you have to, I think to wrap it up, because the juggle is happening, I have to go do pickup. So here it is in real time. You need to make sure that you are working/developing on yourself. And for us, training is that tool and self-development, but the self-development side and the consumption of those things is quite easy. It can be in car rides or it can be a book or whatnot. Schedule in your training and your time for yourself to work on yourself. When you have that, you need to make sure that you have some kind of what winning looks like and have clarity around that. And don't just be spinning your wheels and just going off effort. And I think a lot of parents, busy professionals and whatnot, get stuck in that busyness where it's like, I'm doing a lot, but I'm not actually sure if I have traction and if I'm moving towards this thing that I want to go towards. So having a clear structure of like, what's winning look like for this week, personally, professionally, whatever it may be through there in the combination. And then keeping in mind what Jacob said, you're not going to win every single week, but you want to make sure that you don't miss twice. And if you do, you need to address that. But at the same thing, you can pick your focus for that week. And sometimes I feel like what you said before, Jacob, like with the balance thing, balance isn't this constant. When we think of it, I think it's like all these plates are spinning through at a perfect rotation. I think that's just not realistic. And what balance is what plate needs my attention right now so this whole thing can stay up. And then that Sunday prep can look at what plate needs the most attention whilst the other ones spin. And then as you get more in tune with your weeks and what's important and what winnings looks like, then you'll find that balance because you won't have the expectation that they should all be even all at once.
Yeah, and I think balance isn't static. It's not.
No.
It's not found. And shout out to our mate Rod Cooper. Like, he's able to do some incredible things on his hands. But like, you look at Rod in a handstand, he looks still.
Yeah.
But if you really, really refine in, like, it's a constant, like, active process for him. He's like balancing things through his fingers, through the palm of his hand, through his shoulders. There's all of this stuff that's happening that you're not seeing from the outside.
Absolutely.
But that's the truth of it. There is, like, balance is built. Balance is an active process there. And I want to just dial in on like 1, 2 or 3 little statements there that I want you guys to think about and listen on with this here. Is like, one of the key things here is like being where your feet are. So you want to be good at making the transitions from, okay, cool, I do have to nail in and dial in my work life right now. But as soon as that's done, I'm now with my kids, or I'm now in the gym and training. And like, honestly, that's one of the biggest troubles that I have. That's the thing that I'm trying to refine on, is then going, okay, once work's done, work's done. Once I'm out on the gym floor, I shouldn't be thinking about work or I'm training. And then you might have to pivot on things like that to make those things work, or to make the containers. Some people, like, I remember listening to a guy on a podcast being like, oh, when I get home, I give my phone to my kids, and my kids have like a little bed that they've made for the phone, like as a little thing. It's like, oh, so they put my work phone to bed and I don't touch it until the next day. And little things like that, where it's like, oh, and you can put whatever rituals and habits and stuff like that you want to make it work for you. But learning how you can protect being where you are right now and not letting the other pieces come into it, because that's where you're going to struggle with that there. Knowing that it's not going to be perfect all the time. You got to have a little bit of shout out to Jess, but a bit of self-compassion on this here is like, you're going to be doing the best that you can right now, and we're trying to move our way closer to the vision that you have for yourself. And the last piece that I want to leave you guys with is your best is yet to come. That's one of the things that I always try to focus on, is like, right now you're where you are and you might be trying to balance it all, but you're going to be more capable in the future because of the things that you're doing. If you're trying to do these things here, you're trying to win the week, you're going to be moving to that vision for yourself. You're going to be becoming more capable. You're going to be fitter, stronger, the best version of yourself, because you're taking the actions and doing these things.
110%, Jacob. All right, I'm going to go do the school pickups. That was an epic finisher, Mr. Hodson.
That is our wrap up for today. First of all, block shoot in the new studio, so I'm pumped, I'm excited. But we'll be back with you guys next week for another ep.
100%.